sounds good.
Oh, you're about to sit right there. Big muscle guy, mentioned.
Yeah, right. I'll have I used to get in trouble for that.
All right, you guys, we are going to get started. So if everybody wants to take a seat, you need to grab a lunch, you can do so. We want to thank you guys all for coming to this meeting. We have a great panel of people here to talk about addiction and recovery. We are super excited, and I'm going to let Crystal take it from here.
Anthony, you want to come up? We're going to have Anthony from the Isaiah House do a spotlight on all the services they provide here.
Can everybody hear me? So I am Anthony. I am a CCN with Isaiah House. We are a long-term treatment facility for men and women struggling with substance use and mental health. We technically are a long-term program depending on where the client comes in. On their initial assessment, it could be anywhere up to 8 months. We do offer a sober living / transitional living for when a client does complete up to 4.5 to 5 months, which enables the client to be able to get back to work. We will also help that client find employment opportunities. We will also help the client get their GED, get their IDs, and things of that sort. So if you'd like to know any more about the program, feel free to grab one of my cards back there or come talk to me afterwards. Appreciate you guys being here.
Thank you.
Never have Vicky come up and talk about community events.
No, I'm good.
Please use the mic. Please use the mic.
You really want?
Yes.
Oh.
For this.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for being here. I just want to highlight a few things that are going on in our community here in Southwest Jefferson County. First of all, and most importantly, it is Law Enforcement Appreciation Month. So thank the police officers. Yes, and that includes you, Odin, my best friend. The Barnsley Mormon location is hosting their Southwest Farmers Market for the next 3 Sundays. So please go by and check them out if you have the opportunity. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it is like 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. It's kind of short hours, but please go by and check them out at Barnsley Mormon. The 15th, September 15th, we are hosting a press conference for the Chase Gavin Coda Kid kickoff. If you're not familiar with that, that is through Metro Council in District 25 and Councilman Bachon. We collect coats, new coats, at different locations. The Mark's Feed Store does it for us. Gowan's usually has a box available. You can also make a monetary donation if you are interested in purchasing a new coat, and we then collect those coats and distribute them to JCPS students around the city who might need them. And that is in memory of Chase Gavin, who was a legislative assistant for District 25 for quite a long time. So please consider that. There's also a fundraiser which is starting today that is to get a headstone for the Rosa Phillips Stone Street burial location. I believe, is it in Calvary? Cave Hill Cemetery. If you're not familiar with Miss Rosa Phillips Stone Street, she was the first JCPS superintendent. And it came to light very recently that although she has a street and a school named after her, she does not have a headstone in her burial site. So that is a collaboration between Metro Council and Shirley's Way, and you can go online and make a donation to that if you are interested in doing so. September 23rd, we are hosting a joint Metro Council meeting for District 12, 14, and 25, which covers almost the entire Southwest area. It will be Councilman Bachon, Councilwoman Bass, and Councilman Joseph. That will be at the library from 6 to 8 p.m. September 25th, and I'm sure this will get mentioned today, free naloxone giveaway. I know Stomping Grounds is participating. I believe there's some other locations that are participating as well. September 27th, the 75th PRP Fire Anniversary, from 12 to 4 p.m. at the PRP Fire Training Center on Greenwood Road. So stop by and learn more about PRP Fire and their history, and I'm sure they'll have some good stuff there. September 29th is the Southwest Community Golf Scramble at Sun Valley Golf Course. Please go to their website if you are interested in either playing, getting a team together to play, or volunteering at that event. I'm sure that they can use the help. October 4th at 3 p.m. is the Valley Downs Trunk or Treat. If you're not familiar with Valley Downs, it's the neighborhood beside Valley High School. And their trunk or treat has grown into something pretty amazing. So please either consider setting up a booth, setting up a trunk, and handing out candy, or just attending. And then finally, October 11th, Southwest Community Festival, and this is our big festival out here, a big gathering, kind of like a homecoming sometimes. It's at Sun Valley, and there's usually a car show. I believe there's going to be a car show, right, Lori? Miss Lori Shannonhouse is here with us today, and she is overseeing all of that. So if you are interested in either setting up a booth, have questions about it, or are interested in attending, you can either go onto the Facebook site or ask Miss Lori, and she will be happy to answer any questions. But please, that's a big deal for our Southwest community. Please attend, and please show your support. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Vicki.
Thank you all so much for being here. It's a special day. We brought together an amazing group of individuals who are going to share some insight on addiction, recovery, and the resources available to those who need it most. Just kind of get started. Who in here has personally struggled with addiction? Just raise your hand. Okay. Who in here knows someone, knows a loved one that's been impacted by addiction? It's a very important topic. It's very relevant to our community.
You're in 3D now.
I know.
I think you need the other microphone. I think you just need the other one.
Just turn off. Each of our panelists bring real-world experience, whether that's from lived recovery, frontline work, or professional care. I want to go ahead and each of you introduce yourselves. We'll get started with Anthony.
All right, well, I'm Anthony Hardy again with Isaiah House. I am a person in long-term recovery. I will be celebrating 5 years, January 2nd. I am a father of 3 beautiful kids, 1 teenage boy, so if you have a teenage boy, you know the struggle there. But yeah, I would love to be able to answer any questions, or if anybody wants to talk to me after this event, please pull up on me. I'd love to talk to you.
Hello, thanks for having me here. I'm Kim Hill with Exodus Family Ministries. We actually have a food pantry, a clothes closet, and a resource center. We could go out and pick up the unhoused and bring them back. And so we'll get into a little bit more detail about that. And I am the operations manager there.
Hello, can you hear me okay? My name is Christy Rickshaw. I'm the Director of Nursing at Brightview. I oversee the states of Kentucky and Virginia. I have been working in med treatment for over 10 years. I'm honored to be here. So, any questions pertaining to medication-assisted treatment, I'm your girl.
My name is Morgan White. I'm the clinical liaison for Cedar Grove Recovery, formerly at the Landmark facilities. So Landmark was acquired as of July 1st. It is no more. It is now Cedar Grove Recovery. Operator error. So we are a 30-day residential inpatient provider of substance use treatment, dual diagnosis, and again, you'll hear more about that later too.
Hello and good morning or good afternoon. It's Tara Hyde with People Advocating Recovery.
organization works to remove barriers for those that are in or seeking recovery, and we do that by helping to facilitate technical assistance and training for nonprofit organizations, professionals in the space, and also to empower the voices of lived experience. I'm also a person in long-term recovery, and I've lived a life of resilience for just over 14 years, so I take my lived experience with me everywhere I go, and I make sure that we are a voice in the room.
Hello, Travis Tracy, Officer Travis Tracy. This is Odell. And I've been a LPD officer for about 10 years and then a district resource officer for 2 of those 10. And I work with outreach and recovery weekly. It's very interesting. And it's a huge part of being connected with them to help with my job and help with people in this community.
We do have one panelist missing. He had the nerve to go save someone's life right before this, so he will be joining us very shortly. We'll let him introduce himself when he comes in. Just some general questions. I'll get the conversation going, but we want to make this engaging and interactive, so as conversation flows, please feel free to raise your hand and ask any questions that may arise during the conversation. So let's get started. How do you all define recovery? And how has it changed throughout the years for you? Whoever wants to get started.
I don't know if there's a great definition for defining recovery, except just getting back on track, finding your purpose again, and not letting anything really hold you back and not being a victim. Just one day at a time, one step at a time, and just keep moving forward and not giving up. Is what I would say.
I love that. I actually had just been doing some research because I'm a nerd, and just looking at some different articles, and also from a personal experience, recovery to me looks like a dynamic, person-centered experience that is more than just symptom reduction and remission, but rather than something that produces long-term results. So, and living the life that I choose to live. And that's what recovery looks like to me.
So I will say a little bit about my history. I was a speech pathologist for about 19 years, and so I can relate to that as well, but I've been with the population that we work with for about over a year now. And addiction to me is, you have to start with wanting to help yourself. And until you get to that point, until you want to take the next step forward, it's very hard to help anyone.
Why is it important for people to understand that recovery isn't a one-size-fits-all? Who would like to start?
I definitely see it as a case by case because each person is in a different situation and is affected by it. They could be in a very mild point in their life, or it could be very severe to where they're not even aware of what's going on in their environment as well. But there's just many factors that can affect it to me. That's what I see.
I'll be happy to share about this. So there's a couple of different factors here that I think are really important. One is that we're talking about leading on a path to recovery, right? So for a lot of people, they need intervention, and then some people need clinical and medical treatment, and then some people need the additional steps of medicated assisted treatment and or MOUD, which is medication for opioid use disorder. If that's a specific substance use that you are affiliated with. But more so than anything is that everyone has their own story, and addiction is a biological, psychological, and social disorder, right? Like there's multiple factors, multiple underlying traits that lead us down this path. And so to say that like only one way is going to solve this problem, or like there's a silver bullet, it doesn't exist. So if somebody tells you that there's a silver bullet, it's not true. And I want to be very clear about that, because that's not the case. There's not going to be one thing that's going to work for every single person. There can be really great support services and support systems that can be widespread, but when we talk about supporting people on a path of recovery, it really has to be person-centered, because people can have experience traumas that they need to address and overcome and be supported in. There also could be other factors where they may not have safe and stable housing, they may not have access to other support services and mechanisms that can help them on a path of employment, that can help them on a path of higher education. There could be a laundry list of things. And so, you know, at the end of the day, what it's about is just helping people to get on a path to better themselves, and whatever that looks like to them, right? And helping to lead them down that road, because a lot of people don't even know the questions to ask because they've never lived it. They've never had to think, where do I want to go in life? Like, they've never had the opportunity to sit down and think about what they want to do with the rest of their lives. And I know for me, when I came into recovery at 23, my thoughts and my processes were not, oh, what do I want to do when I grow up, right? Like when I was in kindergarten. When I was in kindergarten, right, like everybody else, did you guys ask that question? You know, what do you want to do when you grow up? For me, like I wanted to grow up and I wanted to be an attorney. I don't know why, like that sounded really good at the time, but you know, that clearly was not a good idea. But later in life, at 23, when I was living in a homeless shelter, never once did I think that I could ever attain such a goal, because I didn't think that I would ever live to make it to see 24. So when we're talking about how we help people to achieve that long-term success, we have to help people to see that that possibility is there, and how we take those little incremental steps to get there, because a lot of people just don't know.
Thank you. Anthony, can you share what helped take you to the first step towards recovery? Like what kept you when things got hard?
Honestly, the one thing that helped me is having my little brother in my ear the whole time. He would always subliminally drop these messages in my ear constantly, like, hey, if you ever need help, you know, I'm a phone call away. And that stuck in the back of my mind for multiple years. And it was just one of those nights I was on a job site working by myself, and then that little message in the back of my head from my little brother was like, hey, call him, he can help you. So I think it was having a loved one or someone actually showing that they care about you, but they gotta love you from a distance. And I know that's hard to do for any family member that does have someone out there struggling in addiction. No one wants to tell their son or their daughter or their brother, hey, I love you, but you can't come to my house no more. I don't want my niece or your niece to see you like this. I don't want to see you like this. So I think just constantly having that support system, even though it was from a distance. I called him, and I thought I was calling him at like 6 in the afternoon. It was 2:30 in the morning. He dropped everything, picked me up, and took me straight to treatment. So that's one thing that helped me in my recovery, is just having that support that always just stayed around me and just kind of supported me a little bit. Did you save her life?
Got her help.
She didn't go to Isaiah? No, okay.
Different type of help.
Introduce yourself for us.
I'm Officer Grossman. I work for the Louisville Metro Police Department, 3rd Division.
Thank you for being
Yeah.
here. Morgan, what does recovery look like for you today? Not just in milestones, but in daily life.
Daily life would be my daily choices. The small stuff matters. Recovery, like she says, so individualized, but my personal stuff is I do a lot of outreach downtown, so it's really easy to ride past the person on the corner holding a sign asking for money or for food. It's really easy to like ride past, even in Valley Station, you see someone on fentanyl and at the shopping center that's asleep, and or the people that, you know, are just honestly nothing to do with psychosis. All the things and the symptoms that you can see on the outside that are happening because of active addiction or chronic houselessness. Instead of keeping on driving, I pull over today and I get to ask what it is you need, how can I help, regardless of the answer. Whatever it looks like for them is what we're going to do. All I can do is share my lived experiences and tell them what worked for me, of course, but I don't keep driving anymore. I get in touch with people like Exodus and Cedar Grove and Isaiah House, all the things, because the resources are there, we're just not educated on all of them. Hopefully that'll change today, at least for the community of Valley Station. So the small decisions matter in my day-to-day recovery than they did used to. You know, it was all about how I felt at the time, what I could get out of it. I'm not going to stop because they're probably going to take my money and go get drugs. And, you know, the whole stigma around giving someone that's downtrodden money and that the conflict in your mind that you have, I just automatically have the faith of a mustard seed that they're going to do right, and what if they don't do right with that money right then? Just in that one situation, if I plant the seed, God will water the rest, and that could be the one encounter. Someone could be suicidal, and it was it, like they're done, and the one, me pulling over to show them that they're not alone, and that I am them, can stop that in its tracks and maybe help them recover and realize that they're worth living too. So the small stuff above all else.
Sure. Thank you, Morgan. Kim, Access Family Ministries meets people literally right where they're at. Can you talk about the importance of offering basic services like food, showers, laundry, areas where people are unhoused?
Sure. So Exodus, Shane Schlater, our executive director here at Exodus, saw the need in the community that there is nowhere out here for people to go. So 2.5 years ago, he decided to build a resource center because he also saw that he would pick someone up and take them just to get their ID, which was a basic need. Had to take them downtown, and that would take hours. And then the next step is the birth certificate. That's a few days later. If he could find them, and then that's the next step, and then housing. So it's just a complex system of challenges for people, to where now on Mondays we bring the services to us. So when we go out and pick up the unhoused, they can come to us and receive those services. We have a health center there for us. We have a VA. We have treatment. We have KY Connect, and we have SNAP benefits. And we actually feed them, and they can have showers and laundry. So, and we just try to love on them because, these people are the most vulnerablest in our community, and they just need love. They need attention. They're worthy as well.
Thank you. Anthony, could you explain the different lines of service that are available as far as outpatient, inpatient?
For Isaiah House, particularly,
Just
or
in general.
I just think in this field, I think the more collaborations you can build in your community. I mean, you see the panel up here. It's all walks of life. So I think that's probably one of the most important things that someone like myself or Morgan, that we go out and try to build the best relationships we can. Just so when we do encounter the clients that are nodding off in front of a Myers or behind a Walmart or panhandling for money, and we go up and we approach that client, we're able to not only talk to that client and explain to them that, hey, we're just like you. I mean, for me, I keep a picture of my intake picture when I came to treatment, because when they physically see a human that's healthy looking, in their mind, they're thinking already, you don't know where I've been at, until I pull up that intake picture and I just simply ask the client that I'm serving, what can I do to help you? Whether it's come to Isaiah House or not, you're not going to hurt my feelings, but I have a bunch of different good partners that are literally a phone call away. So that's one thing that I like to pride myself on, just like everybody else up here. We build great relationships. Like, I can look at this audience and see probably 6 people that I know a phone call away to be able to help a client out at any given moment.
Thank you. Chrissy, what myths or stigmas around treatment do you wish we could eliminate today, especially in a clinical setting?
That's a good question. You probably hear it so often where you hear any patient that comes a part of a MAC treatment program, you always hear them say they're trading another drug with a different medication. And the biggest thing to truly understand is that there's science behind all the treatment. You know, it is not just methadone. You know, there's other medications that are out there. You have your buprenorphine products, you know, and it's not just oral form. You have injectables as well. So you have your buprenorphine standalone product, you have your buprenorphine naloxone. Not only that, you have your naltrexone as well. A lot of those can be given in injectable forms as well, but also actually taking the time to really understand that addiction is a chronic disease, just like diabetes, just like heart disease. You know, you don't judge those patients when they walk in through the door and say like, what treatment options that we have for you. You know, you welcome them in with open arms. So it definitely should be the same thing with someone who's struggling for addiction.
Thank you. Can you just elaborate a little bit? I know, some of the audience here is not very familiar with our space, and so hearing like injectables versus oral, like what does that mean to our population? How would that be helpful?
It's very much patient specific at the end of the day. As a patient walks through the doors, especially at Brightview, they see the providers, they see their nurses, they see their behavioral health specialists and things, and it's not, you know, like you talked about earlier, it's not a one-size-fits-all category. You know, you have to actually take the time out to really understand that, hey, what's this patient's medical history? You know, involve that patient into their care and not actually decide like, hey, you should be on this medication. Let that patient be a part of their treatment process, because what you think may work for them may not work for them. You know, a lot of times patients don't want to be binded by just having to take an oral supplement every day. So giving them a prescription of tablets may not work for them. Giving them an injectable once a month may work for them, because at that point they're able to go out there, they're able to, you know, not have to come in as often as someone that are taking oral medication, you know, and they're able to function out there in society as normal, and they don't feel trapped by just taking an oral medication every day.
Thank you. One thing that I'll add to that is what I hear from patients, especially within Brightview, is that it kind of like beats that like daily habit of taking a pill, right? So they can get the injectable one time a month. It really kind of helps their recovery journey. Tara, what are the biggest barriers still keeping people from recovery, and how do you think like we as a community can help change that?
Barriers. Access is a big one. Sometimes people aren't able to access the level of care that they need. And that's one way, unfortunately. Sometimes people get caught up in criminal justice systems before they're able to get into care. Sometimes people die. That's a real causal effect. And sometimes I think that the misunderstanding of stigma really gets the best of people who really do want to help, but they don't know how. Because, again, it's back to, some of the points that were made earlier, substance use is a chronic illness. It isn't a moral failing. But we treat it as a moral failing. We do so, systematically across our country, and until we change that, I think that it's really hard to change perceptions. And unless, you or your family have been impacted by it, it's really hard to change perception from a general community standpoint. From somebody who isn't directly impacted. I know that, and I will say this though, I came into recovery in 2011. Don't judge my age. But I have seen a tremendous change in how we talk about recovery. And I've seen the openness and the willingness and, I mean, like the partnership across sectors. And that is incredible because like that didn't happen. When I first started doing this work and advocacy and really talking about the things that we needed, especially for young people, because young people, it was just a rite of passage a lot of time. And when we started really having those conversations around, it isn't just a rite of passage, right? Like this is more. And really starting to dig in and really having those deeper conversations around like, is this misuse and is this in fact substance use disorder? And that really helping to elevate and really conversate around like, what are those barriers to why we can't intervene in young people before they reach a state of crisis? Because right now, like that's the only intervention tool that we have in the toolbox is, that's how people get into treatment a lot of times. It's through crisis, and especially for young people, and it just shouldn't be that way. And I'm a huge advocate for that, that we need to change that level of interaction. So that's what I see a lot, but I definitely, like I said, the conversation has shifted tremendously, which is beautiful and great, and I think that we can still lean in, but again, right, like that takes the community, that takes us, like elevating that message, and that's not out of anger, that's not out of anything, outside of just wanting to help, wanting to find understanding, wanting to find common ground of like, how can we build this thing together? How can we still find a way forward for people that need help and be accountable to the actions that we have made or done or decisions made or done, but still be able to get people to the help that they need because they do need help a lot of times. So, I mean, there's a lot of different conversations that need to be had, I think, on a variety of different, stages. But I think that we're at a prime place to have those conversations, locally as well as federally, right? A lot of those conversations are being had. And I think it's important for all of us to sort of like, raise our voices and talk about the things that we need as a community and, talk about your experience and the things that you've experienced and felt and, your family member, your experience as a person with lived experience.
Thank you. Officer Grossman, there's often stigma not just about addiction, but about police working directly with people who use drugs or who are homeless. What helped shift your approach over the years?
Me personally, I think I've maintained the same standard, what I've always been doing since I got out of the academy. So I've always gone about policing the exact same way as what it is today. So if as it pertains to addiction, if someone is going through addiction and they are wanting to get help, then I get them help. I take them to a hospital, or I try to get them into resources where they can get help. So that's kind of what I've always done. What LMPD is doing as a whole is kind of, they're more in line with that as well. Where someone, like I said, if someone is suffering from addiction, then LMPD, its officers are getting trained more. So, all right, get them to a hospital or get them somewhere where they can get treated. So I think as LMPD as a whole, it's kind of coming around to that.
I was just saying they're even working inside the jails they have a Chance for Change program for some of the inmates that are trying to get in recovery still while they're incarcerated as well. So.
Anthony, how has working in recovery, helping others, impacted your own journey, and has it changed the way you view addiction and healing?
I believe just me working in recovery, it gives you a sense of responsibility when it comes to working with the clients that we serve. Those clients, I remember when I first started coming to Exodus, I didn't have a single person come talk to me. But I know that I'd say Morgan can probably testify to this. more you show up in the house and community's faces, the more they build that trust with you. The more you can break those walls down that they're holding up against you. I imagine it happened with Shane and Kim as well. I mean, it happens to everybody. I mean, you have somebody that has trust issues that's living on the street. It's hard for them to trust an outsider that just starts coming because they think that you're just trying to put a head to a bed at the end of the day. But once they genuinely start seeing that you truly care about them as a human being, and you're not there just to pat your numbers, you see a huge difference in that body language of a client. So I think that's one of the most important things is just being in the house's community's face more than just going up showing, hey, can you come to my treatment center? No, then you just push them away and you don't mean that. That's what helps me in my recovery.
Thank you. Along with that, Kim, what role does trust and consistency play in the work that you all do at Exodus? I'm sure it's probably similar to what he was thinking of.
Yes, exactly what he said. Just showing up, being consistent. These people are going through a lot of mental health and trauma, and they don't have a lot of trust. And some of the last things that have happened, the huge trauma effect has been losing family members. So then when they become houseless on the streets, they have no one, and then someone starts stealing from them, someone that they may have trusted that they thought was a friend. Trust is huge, and if they can come and see our faces and show, like Anthony said, that we care, but it goes back to case by case. Every person's different, and you have to find out where they are, but you have to get to know them. You have to talk to them, because they are people and they're human just like the rest of us, but you also have to figure out what they want and where they're at. I just sat down with the lady the other day, and first it was trying to get her meds straight because she was having some paranoia. But I asked her, where do you want to be in 6 months? Where do you want to see yourself in a year? She's trying to get on the right path, but it is still showing the trust and consistency, and that you care.
Thank you. Chrissy, can you share a story that reminds you of why this work matters, even when it's hard?
That's a good question. I can tell you about a recent encounter that I just experienced. Like I said, I've been working with MAC treatment for over a decade, and I was recently in a grocery store shopping, and this lady just comes walking up to me, and she's like, "Hey, do you remember me?" Of course I did. Even though it had been over 4+ years that I hadn't even seen this patient. And she just wanted me to know exactly where she was in life. And she literally told me, just being compassionate at the end of the day and made all the difference. And she always told me, you never gave up on me when I gave up on myself. You still encourage me every day. And she always used to tell me that I always used to tell her, well, tomorrow's a new day, we'll be here for you, and it made her want to continue to come in, and there's oftentimes that the patient, just falls off. And just being able to let them know that, hey, I'm gonna be here for you, you may go missing for a whole month, but these doors are still gonna be open for you at the end of the day. And then seeing where she is now, she was a manager at this store. Not only that, she has custody of her children, she now has a vehicle, and just seeing her at rock bottom and seeing how far she has come, and knowing that I was a part of that is what makes a difference.
That's beautiful, thank you. Morgan, if someone said, I want to start living a different life today, where do they begin? What do you say?
I guess I do prison ministry, and in the same prison that I gave birth to a child back in 2016. So I now get to go back into that prison by the grace of God, regardless of criminal history. Still surprised. But when I see those women, 98% of them don't believe that they can have it too. So they see us come in, and we're in regular clothes, and the stigma is 2 ways actually. I go in with people that don't look like me, some older women and men. I'm usually the youngest in the group, but they automatically, the inmates a lot of times stigmatize the people that come in with me, like they can't help me. They don't, like Anthony said, they don't know what this is like. I know what that's like. So I did 2 years after I gave birth to my son. So now I'm able to reach women that only people that have children and while incarcerated are able to reach. By going back in there and having the lived experience myself. I forgot the question.
What would you say to someone that's ready to change their life, ready to get started with the treatment?
So there it is.
How do you get connected?
So I have to convince them women that they can have it too, and because we're lived experienced people, we're on display throughout the community all day, every day, when we're working, when we're not. They're able to see that the possibility is there. Back to the faith of a mustard seed. If you can convince somebody that it's worked for you, then they firmly, they usually believe that they can have it too. Especially when you have intake pictures and you're able to tell them that I wore the same clothes, the same penitentiary, and had the same health care, prenatal health care, and had to make the same decision for my child and all that stuff. Same deal when you lay back down. If you have to believe that you're eligible to, which is what YET stands for.
Thank you. Terry, you've helped elevate so many other voices through your work. What gives you hope right now in the recovery movement, and where do you see us gaining momentum?
Well, I actually think I talked a little bit about that earlier too, is that I see so many people coming up, stepping forward, talking about their lived experience being in recovery and not shying away and falling back to the shadows, And I think that that's a beautiful representation of what our community can look like. For the first time, in our city, in Louisville, there is a recovery community center next to U of L that is specifically for recovery. There's a sign that says recovery effort. When I remember when I came into recovery like that, I knew of one recovery community center in where was it? Up north, somewhere. And I was like, that's never gonna happen in Louisville. Like, that's never gonna happen. And that was like a dream and a pet peeve of mine. And here it is, right? Like, here it is, it's here, it's now, and they're like, I don't know, there's 12 that are funded by the Kentucky Opioid Response Effort, and then another 7 through other philanthropy across the state, which is beautiful. Do we need more? Absolutely. We need more community-based recovery support services, which are just support services for people after they initiate treatment. So treatment stabilizes people, and that's beautiful, and a lot of folks need that stabilization. But a lot of folks need long-term support, which is what a recovery community center can offer. And that's what I see as the hope. Is all of the services that we can and are starting to deploy in our communities, and the investment in long-term support care, and the achievement of people coming out and being vocal about their recovery.
Awesome, thank you. Officer Grossman, still have a badge and a duty to enforce the law. How do you balance compassion with the realities of public safety when responding to calls of involving addiction or homelessness?
It's treated on a case-by-case basis. It's not clearly defined, but how I measure for myself. If I'm responding to an individual and they're showing signs of addiction, and then I'll go down that path of what can I do to help you? All right, what resources do you need? Who can I help you to get in contact with? And here are some numbers that you can call or reach out to, or I can make a phone call for you if that's what they want. So, but on the flip side of that coin, like she said, I do have a badge and I am required to enforce the law. If there are other situations surrounding the addiction that I need to address, then I'm going to address it. But addiction alone, isolated, it's more along the lines of, hey, what can I do to help get you to the right people? You know, I give you for an example. If you end up overdosing in a stolen car, I'm going to address the stolen car, and you'll probably be going in handcuffs after you get treated by EMS. All right, and as well, and this is an actual scenario that occurred. I'll probably stuff in your pockets with a couple of pamphlets and brochures on how to get better. All right, or some addiction resource centers. So that's kind of, it's most, by and large, what most officers are doing. That's definitely what I do. So again, it's usually on a case-by-case basis, and it depends on what is also surrounding the addiction.
Awesome, thank you. While you still have the mic, can you share a story about when you connected with someone to help versus taking them to jail, and how it impacted you and that person?
Sure. So you know, one of the regrets I have as a law enforcement officer is I didn't keep a journal. Because it's just, I mean, I'm full of stories, good, bad, ugly. So one of the more positive stories I had, I won't use her name, but she is an individual that I had numerous run-ins with route patrol. I never took her to jail because she always said, okay, I'm leaving, but she would always hang out in this one particular spot. And she would never, you know, I'd offer resources that, hey, here's some numbers, what can I do to help you? Shop owners would call us all the time, and I was quite familiar with her story. And they're like, can you do something? Can you take her to jail? She keeps coming back here. And I get the, why am I paying you my tax dollars if you're not going to do anything? Okay. So, fast forward a little bit. I don't see her for about a month, 2 months, and usually on our end, we usually expect the worst. Because if she passed out somewhere or she didn't make it. Well, I actually get a call on her again by a shop owner, and they're like, hey, this person's back. I was like, oh, she's alive. So I'll go talk to her and see how she's doing. Well, I get up, she looks at me, and she knows what I'm about to say. I said, hey, you gotta move on. She's like, hey, I have housing. It's coming. So I was like, okay, who are you getting housing through? And I believe it was through Exodus. She was like, I'm on the list. They're coming to pick me up at noon. I was like, oh, that is absolutely fantastic. That's fantastic. So I was able to, shop owners wanting her to get trespassed, take her to jail or trespassing. We'll try to do something else. So, lo and behold, because I've been lied to before, see at noon, see the van pull up, picked up her and her dog, and she's off. And I haven't seen her in probably about 6 months now. So as far as from what I understand as well, and I've spoken with some of her other friends as well, who keep in contact with her, is that she's still doing well with her housing.
Awesome, thank you for sharing that. Anthony, a lot of people think recovery means getting your life back, but for many it means building something brand new. What did rebuilding look like for you, and what can you share to help somebody else?
What it looked like for me was from going to probably 4 or 5 different foster homes, running from them, getting kicked out of them, bouncing around the schools, ended up dating a female. We bought a house together. My addiction got the best of me. That led me to getting kicked out. To then go staying with my mother over in Indiana. Got kicked out of that one. By the grace of God, the same woman that kicked me out and held my kids away from me, last March we just celebrated a year of marriage. So, to me, that's what recovery looks like. And honestly, To me, recovery is a major mindset. You got to be willing and wanting to do something different. You can have all the resources in the world, but I think changing your mindset, and that goes with just life in general. If you want to do something different and you want to become a better person and you want to be able to work in this field, it starts with changing your mindset. It starts with going to one of these centers, getting the help, the individual help that you need for yourself, because everybody's different. You know, not everybody might not need to come to Exodus or Isaiah House or Cedar Grove. But that's where I think being passionate in what you do, it reflects in the community that we serve. I mean, I got a very understanding boss. She knows, you know, yeah, I have a certain amount of people I need to get in a week, but she knows I'm passionate about what I do. And I don't really consider this work. I consider it going out and meeting new friends. Half the people probably up here I would have never met in my life if I'd have never get in this field. But that's what to me recovery looks like, is just changing your mindset, sitting still in a program that works for you, and just staying focused on the next right thing. And for me, the next right thing for me was surrendering everything to God, in my understanding. That's what's got me to where I'm at in my life today. So.
Awesome, thank you. Kim, how can everyday community members, business owners, faith leaders, neighbors better support the community in addiction recovery and houselessness?
I think one thing is just all of us coming together as a community and helping each other out, but also helping our community out. You know, I have some cards back there. Just if someone needs help that day, we're a day shelter, so handing the cards to them or giving us a call online as well. But also just come help us. We're a nonprofit. We only have 6 employees, and we run on volunteers, so we always need help with volunteers. Also, just we have clothes. We need clothes all the time. So if you're going through your closets, donate some clothes. If you don't have that, then obviously financially as well, we'll always take monetary donations because we run up those as well. But yeah, it's just us coming together as a community and helping each other out is the first step.
Awesome, thank you. It's just a general question for anybody that wants to answer. We have treatment providers, police, and people with lived experience here on this panel. Why is working together so important?
I mean, it's not just one person that can do it all. We have to be a team, and I really try to strive with that at the ministry. That, you know, we can't do it by ourselves, and it's the same thing in our community, because you can see it doesn't just affect us here in the Southwest area. It's affecting all of us. So it's affecting any area of town, and we have to. There's no INT. We have to do it together.
Awesome. Anybody else want to chime in on that?
I would just second that as well. Working at Brightview and being a collaborative, it gave me a bigger understanding that, you know, that was eye-opening. You know, not only that patients come there and they just get medication at the end of the day, but we do have our behavioral health specialists. We do have case management services. And then, you know, me on the nursing end of things, you know, my biggest focus is on that medication and that education standpoint. I couldn't help anyone, you know, with housing or understand that aspect. But, you know, just working together, like we say as a team, you know, it brings it all together for the patients at the end of the day.
Thank you.
Can I just say something real quick before you go, Terry? No, go ahead. I can speak pretty loud, trust me, you're good. I honestly think the collaboration is probably one of the most important things in this field. For the simple fact, everybody in here has their own Facebook friends, has their own group of friends, their own family members. You guys might not have known about any of us up here working in addiction or trying to help, you know, the houseless population. So the more collaboration we build, the better partnerships we build. It touches everybody. So my phone number got passed to Christian County. I don't even serve that county. So that's why, and it spreads with word of mouth of somebody might reach out in your family and say, hey, you know anybody who works in a rehab? Hey, I got a guy. I got a lady. You know anybody that works with the houseless that can help me during the day? Yeah, I got somebody. So I think it's really important. The more people we can reach out to, the more collaborations we can build. It targets a wide variety of people. So when you do encounter that family member or the houseless population, you're able to help that person on their journey.
And also, I love the collaboration, absolutely. 100%. Collaboration is so huge. Also, like, this is about community, right? Like, recovery is all about community, and after someone, you know, stays in recovery for 5 years, they reach the same risk level as any general community person for a reoccurrence or someone who may use again. So for them to be connected to other people in recovery or people who are supportive of their recovery, like, that is huge. That is community. That is social support. And for us as people in recovery to be open and talking about recovery, talking about different services, talking about different resources, talking about accepting people where they are, that becomes a part of the prevention fabric also. So it's a complete full circle also. So when we talk about treatment, recovery, prevention, risk reduction, all of that comes a part of the full circle, the full spectrum of ensuring that people get the support that they need. And we can't do that alone. And no one provider can do all things either. We have to do it as a community.
I agree. So from what once I started getting into this, review and everywhere else, Isaiah House and learning about more, I think we all have an understanding of where we want to be. So I think everyone here in this room probably has the same desire as it pertains to addiction. So we all have the same goal, all right? But there's multiple ways up that mountain to that same goal. And each one of us has a much different approach on how to get there. So I equate it to having kids. I've got 3 kids. Each one responds differently to a different type of stimulus or any type of punishment. All right. Now I'm not trying to say a punishment per se, but each one responds differently. They're 5, 9, and 13. So each one's going to respond differently. Same way, with addiction. From what I've seen, is that each one is in different stages of addiction, and they may take a different path to recover. And so I think everyone up here has the same end goal and mentality. They want to get that person help. It's just each person has a different way of getting it. I think we're all unified in that aspect, that we're all willing to get that person help.
Come up here real quickly.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for coming out. So, I think Tara, who said Kim, mentioned volunteer. And so I looked up the definition of extreme volunteer a few minutes ago. And an extreme volunteer, ChatGPT, by the way.
Oh my gosh.
You gotta love it. An extreme volunteer is someone who goes far beyond traditional volunteering, offering not just time, but deep personal commitment, often in intense and unconventional ways. So, this afternoon, we honor someone whose dedication spans more than 3 decades. Jackie Parks. You can come on up for a second, please. Jackie has given 31 years to Louisville, not just through hard work, but through leadership, mentorship, and building systems that continue to serve our community. At Exodus Ministries, Jackie has stepped into nearly every role and served on countless committees, always with one goal: to make things better for those around her. Jackie didn't just show up. She shaped the culture. She's poured love into every space she's entered and every person she's encountered. Her presence has been steadfast, her impact immeasurable. And today we recognize that legacy with the Serve Award. Great individuals who serve our community, and I wanted to make sure that you were presented with this award. So Jackie, thank you. Thank you for your service, and planting the seeds. Who said that? Yeah, Tara, you said that, right? Planting the seeds through your leadership and lasting imprint that you have made on the city and its people. So thank you so much, Jackie, for everything.
Congratulations.
Jackie, take a picture.
You want to get a picture, guys? Jackie? Yeah. Where you want to go?
That ain't gonna work.
Where are you going?
For helping facilitate this.
He was always behind the door just doing.
You see everybody?
I'm coming. Sorry.
Did you get a good one to send to me?
Perfect.
Awesome. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Khalil. Any more questions from the audience? I know you had a question.
So I'm a family resource coordinator in elementary school, and our parents never come to me and say, hey, I want drugs. But oftentimes they come to me for other resources, or I'm working with their kids, and it's pretty apparent that they are on drugs, and that's almost always a common factor. It seems like. What advice would you have, like, for how to help their parents in that situation, especially because that's not something that they want to admit to me. I'm the person they think is going to cause them yes. Right. So it's very difficult to, address the elephant in the room in that situation. So what advice would you have on the best way to get them to help?
I have a question. Do you have resources available, like on site, like different brochures?
We have some, but it's, I guess what I'm really asking is how to
Approach the situation.
Approach the conversation.
Especially because they're not coming to me admittedly with the problem, and I don't want them to feel like I'm judging them, or ultimately they always think like if that is a place like we had somebody not off the lobby, it had to be addressed. So of course they think we're gonna call CPS, and now those kids don't even go to our school anymore because they think we know what's going on, and ultimately, trying to take their kids away.
I think one way to address that situation is obviously never do it in front of a group of people or the child that's present. Maybe that could be a phone call to the family member that you see that is struggling, and just let them know, you kind of notice a difference in their behavior when they were at the school event or whatever the case may be. And if there's just leave it on the table that if there's anything that I could do to help you with this, it could be one of those things, a verbal agreement of we keep it between us. We just want what's best for the child at the end of the day. And there's resources out there to where they won't even have to step foot in a residential facility. There's services that can come to them. And I think once you give that parent that information, because that's a big stigma of, well, I don't want to go into a residential, or I can't go into a residential treatment facility, then that kind of eases it a little bit, knowing that they can have services brought to them and no one would ever know that they're in some type of treatment getting the help that they need.
Yeah. So that's a resource. I'm sorry. That's a resource that I definitely don't know about. What type of treatment facilities would offer? Like I know about intensive outpatient therapy here, like that.
So there's a facility called Aware Recovery. After this, if you want to get with me, I have a contact with me. I can put you in touch with her. And you can just pick her brain, but I would say the best is try to do it behind closed doors. Don't do it to where anyone else hears a conversation, because we know kids can be mean. So if a kid finds out another kid's in treatment, their family is in treatment, that could cause a big warning to us, and that's what we're trying to avoid at all costs.
There's also a Kentucky helpline that you could call that's actually anybody can use in the state of Kentucky for any sort of crisis assistance, and it's not just for treatment. So that's also a good way to segue into help just for anything, because it's not just treatment, and that's through the Office of Drug Control Policy. So that's just another avenue stations, I don't know, I know that they were like talking about if that's available or not, but like having access to like naloxone in spaces where adults are able to like take it, maybe like in bathrooms where, like I said, adults are that are private, so that way that they're not like feeling like somebody's watching them take it, are also good. That could be also another really great resource.
Shane?
Yeah, sorry. My question, obviously, some people aren't aware, but the federal cuts that are coming to Medicaid, it is already affecting, that I know, treatment, mental health, and substance abuse disorder. What are the recovery community doing, I guess, to try to fill the gap, and what can the community do to try to stand with the recovery community and fill the gap on what that's going to look like down the road?
I guess that's a question for me. Well, a few things. Call your congressman and let them know that you support funding for Medicaid, right? And you support these services and programs. And that's on, you know, your lived experience, right? Like, I'm not telling you what to do, I'm telling you what you know, if I'm empowering you to do that. That's number one, what you should do. And also, like, help to lift up the stories of people who have been impacted, because those are the things that they need to hear. From my understanding, like, our Congress members don't know that these programs work. And that's because those stories haven't been told, and they haven't been told in a way where they are resonating. And that means that they're not understanding that the investment that they've made into Medicaid is working. So we need to tell them and show them by showing the faces of recovery and saying, we, like myself, like I had today, I was at one time using Medicaid to help support my, you know, life and on a path of progress. Today I have my own private insurance and I'm a CEO of a nonprofit organization. Now I give back to my community, right? Like, I have this incredible life. I'm a homeowner, I volunteer, I probably work like 80 hours a week, but I love my job, right? Like, all of these really amazing things. I'm a mom, I do all this cool stuff. But they don't get to really see that, like, I was one time homeless and Medicaid dependent, utilizing food stamp, right? Like, all of those things, right? Like, they only see the good stuff now because I'm, like, talking to them all the time. So it's important to, like, share those stories.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's a great question.
It sounds like we need to get Tara into Congress.
Okay.
I'm kind of circling back to her question about the family, with the parents that are addicted. I don't know if this is the former LMPD officer in me or not, but if the child is in the house with the parent using drugs, our first thing is the child's safety, right? I mean, that could be called into place. So I'm thinking CPS is gonna have to get involved anyway, because that child is in a house with a parent that's using drugs. So there's no way to go around that. That's gonna be my first thing, is that child is in a home with a parent that is using drugs. I don't think there should be a way around that. Is that just me, or I don't know?
It's not just you, a lot of people think that way, Tara.
I don't, it could be, I mean, I'm a law enforcement background, criminal justice degree from U of L, I'm sorry, I put
It's
the
understandable.
kids.
A lot of people, it's not just you.
I don't know, but I put the kids' safety before
So you gotta understand
the worry.
from our standpoint, you gotta understand, because I'm with you, is we've seen kids get stuck with a needle. We've seen kids overdose on gummies. We've seen kids swallow pills.
Yep.
And to that, the kid is absolutely innocent. So for us,
I've seen a child accidentally take
for us, I understand where you're coming from, for sure.
licking medicine or licking the residue, a child.
But you definitely have to think of the kid,
Dead.
because they're
So
completely
no,
innocent.
I'm sorry.
So,
We're gonna get embarrassed.
to circle back to what you were saying, so you can always call, like I said, an LMPD. I mean, the stigma can go both ways. There's a stigma about police. Just because police are called doesn't mean someone's going to jail.
Thank you.
All right. So we as LMPD, we have vast outreach. We have a vast amount of resources that are at our fingertips. So, and I've seen this done as well, where LMPD are called and we can be used as the quote-unquote cudgel, or the medium, the middleman between the person to call and the person that's in crisis. Okay, and we've done this. I've been doing this I've been with LPD for 14 years, with Metro Corrections for 4. I've been doing this a long time. Well, the vast majority of its officers can approach that scenario that you gave somewhat of a tactful approach. Okay, but just because LPD is called doesn't necessarily mean the CPS is always getting involved. It will depend on the scenario. One you gave, we're going to address where the child is from an LPD standpoint. We're going to address, at least try to address the safety of the child. And then we're going to deal with the parent appropriately as that scenario dictates.
I was just going to speak as I'm an ex-CPS worker, so I served as a CPS worker for 2.5 years in Bullitt County. And just coming from with you, so there's a stigma with CPS workers too. Our job is not just to take the kids away. Our job is really to try to reunify families or give family services in order to be able to stay together. I think that after me having done a lot of investigations with parents with drug addiction, being honest and building a really trusting relationship with a parent and just starting off with like being tactful with the way that you bring it up and saying, we want to help you, we don't want your kids to be removed from you, but if they don't get the help that can ultimately happen, if they're not open to doing what's best for them and their children. So partnering with them, building a rapport, building a partnership with the parent, and being honest. If you are going to have to file a CPS report, the parent's going to have more respect for you if you say, I'm going to have to file a report. I'm sorry that I'm having to do it. I have to. Now that doesn't mean that the report's going to be accepted. Just because a parent uses drugs doesn't mean that it's actually abuse or neglect. Just because a parent's using drugs, the report actually has to be that a parent is under the influence in front of their child or while providing care for the child, which can be frustrating. But just because a parent is using drugs, they would have to be in that caretaking role. And so you can definitely put the report up there, whether it is accepted or not is a totally different thing, which is out of your control. It's out of all our control. But yeah, I mean, I think that you addressing that was right.
I think that's everything that we're up here for. So just because one agency is called doesn't mean there's not going to be cross communication between the other agencies. So if I'm called, I'm going to probably end up trying to get a hold of one of these guys down here or her and try to address them, or contact the CPS. I mean, that's a possibility. It's true. But just because one division, one agency is called, doesn't mean that's going to be the isolated individual, the only contact they're going to have. There's going to be cross-platform discussions on dealing with that situation as it's needed.
I think her initial question that she brought up was she has a suspicion, right, that they're using. I think if you make things available in front of the parents, you don't have to say, hey, I think you're using drugs, here this is. I think if it's available for them, they can see it in front of them, they may reach down and grab it. If you know they're using it, this is where this comes into play. That you need to report that, you need to make that aware. The Lord knows our officers, they're awfully busy going to things that are being called. A lot of times that they get there and they realize it was a false call. So it's important. The children are important in what we're doing. That parent is important. Now that we're giving them the help that they need, make it visibly available for them, that they can reach out, they can get the resources that they need without you making a point to that parent. That's my take.
the way she explained it though, was that her main concern was having the parent be embarrassed about having a drug issue. The main concern that she was saying was not about for the kid being involved in it, being in the household.
She didn't say that was her main concern, not at all.
Yeah, I
She
certainly.
wanted to know.
Okay, well, move on, next question.
Yeah. Genuine care and concern. If you open with genuine care and concern, people can sense that. And like Tim said, he's a man of faith. Like when they come to you for clothing resources, for a jacket, like the funding dollar kit for jacket, if they come to you for that, give them a slew of resources that you may not even know. Like they could be bouncing house to house and you don't know because they have a permanent address on file. So put substance use packet, or like our business cards. I answer my cell phone 3 a.m. on Christmas Eve, it doesn't matter. So put all kinds of different things that could potentially be a need that you can't even identify from your off because it's hard. You barely get any kind of exposure to the parent. And when you are seeing, like you said, you don't know if they could have been exhausted. They could be working 3 jobs and you don't know, and they're not really nodding out. It's on fentanyl. It's that they've worked 24 hours straight and they're still trying to survive. You just don't know. So if you, like he's saying, supply them with all kinds of different resources, you don't know what they're going to go home and pull out later and be like, man, maybe that's a God thing. Maybe that packet landed in there with the houselessness, with the food, all the other resources, because I need to make a call. Like if you make it available, and they know that there's a resource like VOA, they know all that. And if you start with genuine care and concern, if someone would have came to me 15, well my son's 17, like 18 years ago when my addiction started, and said, I'm not just going to call CPS, and had genuine care and concern for me, I don't know that I would have ever kept going. I don't know if I ever would have lost custody of any of my kids, had a baby in the penitentiary, caused another 18 years of 15 to 10 years, another decade of pain to the people that care about me, and to myself, if someone would have shown genuine care and concern for myself way back then. So the fact that that was even your question, like I have mad respect that you're trying to figure out how to address it. And kids' safety is of paramount and should be number one for sure. But if you can get mom better, you may never have to have that conversation again.
And just to chime in, we all work very well together. We provide actually these like little resource cards that have options for outpatient, inpatient, partial hospitalization, psych services, information for exit family ministries. It's on a very small, like trifold business size card. If that's something that you all are interested in carrying, I mean, like as she said, if you're giving something and you have that suspicion, maybe just slide that in there. Even if they don't need it, they can potentially know someone that could. So, would love to connect with you afterwards and we can work on getting you those cards. Yes, ma'am.
I know a young man that went to the program for addiction, but now his problem is housing, so he's looking from house to house to house. How can a program person get, and he's on everybody's list, get housing, but he still doesn't have housing. And I'm afraid if he doesn't get housing, he's gonna end up right back where he was. Because he will lose his child.
I mean, that's one of the barriers that we consistently run into in our space. Housing is a huge barrier. And I'm assuming you said he has a child, is that what you said? I'm sorry. So, I mean, there are different types of resources like Find Housing Now KY. That is one resource, but I mean, even still, like that's only, there's still waiting lists. There's still lots of different things. Affordable housing is a real challenge in our state, especially in the Louisville area. And unfortunately, I don't have an answer. And the best thing that I can say is to contact like the Coalition for the Homeless, too, because they have access to help expedite some of those processes. But there are some really amazing resources like the Get Help or Find Recovery Housing Now, I think is what it is, something like that. But there's that resource. There is the Coalition for the Homeless that has
with children. So there are a lot of opportunities, but it's also, right, like having this conversation right now, knowing what's available, right, like knowing those resources. So having more of these conversations and maybe like, I don't know, putting some of this stuff together, which is why I love that hotline, because that hotline is supposed to be a repository of just a listserv of stuff. So not just in Kentucky or in Louisville, but across the state. So thank you.
For kids that have been impacted by drug use in their family home, I know when I was younger, I used to help with kids that had alcohol in their Do we need to have programs or creators so that our youth can go somewhere and discuss the things that possibly put them in jail by drug use and conversion?
Can you say the question a little louder? I'm sorry, you're soft spoken.
Do we have more programs for kids that have been impacted by someone in their home that has been on drugs? Like our local one, do we have something like that where kids can go somewhere safe and they can explain what's going on in their minds, like therapy, do we have programs more like that?
Well, Alateen is huge. So you have Al-Anon for the family members and the parents are big to love all that stuff, like PAL and all that. Alateen is way bigger than people think it is. I'll get with you after this and I'll give you a number for you to call, one of the head people of Al-Anon that also work with Alateen that can get you the resources to give out to whoever you need. And then from, 7 counties provides therapeutic services for juveniles. There's all kinds of places that they can get therapy. It's very important for the kid to be treated, especially if the parents needed treatment and didn't get it or did, but not in time. Like, definitely our kids need to be talked to more than the adult even. But Alateen, there's more than you think, honestly, and I'll try to get with you after this to give you those. Anybody else want to
Peace Hospital is a big one, and the gentleman sitting right in front of you works with young people in recovery as well. You go by the name Billy.
Let's take one more question. I know a lot of us will be staying back afterwards, so if there's still more conversation, or questions. Marcus, what you got?
Yeah, I have one question. So I'm a family research coordinator too, and we do a lot of programs, a lot of it is trial and error, a lot of the stuff we've been doing for years, but most of what we do, we kind of put it in the prevention method. So for us who are in elementary schools work, usually with the whole family, the older kids have more independence. What would be, I guess, the best prevention program that we could put together for our family? What kind of prevention program would you like to see at our
That is a great question, and I think, Marcus, maybe we can connect, like, Morgan, Anthony, Ken, whoever else wants to join in on the conversation. I know we've got some great, community partners out here too, Billy and Brittany, and just maybe kind of dive into that a little bit more to see what that would look like and how we could all potentially contribute. One more.
We've talked about, how we can help the individual who wants help. I've been advocating for 5 years for mental health. And the problem is that the people who have these mental issues, they don't know they need the help. We go and like I said, 5 years of advocating Metro Council, Frankfurt, all my committees that I'm on, advocating. And I see Troy, I see Shane, I see my police officers, and there's a lot of resources out here. But some of these people don't know that they need the help. They go to a mental hospital, mental inquest, 72 hours. What in the world could you find out about a person in 72 hours? What are you going to find out in 3 to 5 days in a mental hospital? They had problems or they wouldn't be referred there. I also challenge you to check in on the Casey law. Situations in Hardin County, they have the Casey law. Here we are in Jefferson County, it takes years to have someone to go through what we call the Casey Law. And the biggest impact too is the life of the grandparents, the great-grandparents. When you see, and I've been an educator for nearly 50 years, and we've got to reach these kids young. 3 to 5 years, their goals are almost set in life. And you know, we've got to do something. I don't know what something is, but we can't fix mental health with a Band-Aid. And I think that's what we try to do. You know, we cover it up, but there's so many things and the impact that it has on all of our lives. Because, you know, if you didn't care, you wouldn't be here. So we're preaching to the choir, but we really need to figure out what works and become a team. That's because if one person is advocating, it takes 10 to offset a negative behavior. So just help it out. Don't give up. You know, we all have hope, and we don't want to give up.
Thank you, Wanda. And that's why we're having panels like this to start conversations and get the community involved and really just learn about all the different resources that are available. Because we here at Valley Station, we actually do have some pretty amazing resources. And if it's not available at Valley Station, you can call one of us and we're going to get you connected. So does anybody have anything else on the panel to contribute before we wrap up? Okay. Thank you all so much for being here. We appreciate you all, and we'll see you next month.
Tell people to grab lunches.